Welcome to the Divorce Devil Podcast, a show tailor-made for those stepping out of the divorce recovery space. Follow your hosts, David and Rachel, as they dive into the all-too-familiar shitstorm of the more than interesting end-of-the-road divorce topics, stories, and discussions. While realizing it can be a trying stage, they have been where you are and understand the struggle. And yes, the struggle is real. They know that recovery can be such a clusterfuck. Check out the podcast if you feel like you're juggling chainsaws, then strap in and hold on for some honesty, authenticity, and hard-in-your-face, irrefutable truths. This innovative podcast is not for the faint-hearted, so if you can't handle the certain truths, just keep it moving. If you can, welcome to the show.
Morning at the diner on the corner.
Yep.
I had only filled it halfway when the man.
Tess, are you loud? Are you clear?
I am
Are
loud.
you there?
It is very
Throw
loud,
that right there
actually.
by your mouth. Put it by your mouth. No. That.
Oh.
Yes. Turn a little bit, direction it to you, and then pull it towards you. Speak.
Hello.
All right, there we go. All right. Welcome everybody out there to Divorce Devil episode 184. Today we're talking about boundaries and channels. So TV boundaries in your divorce recovery.
We have soap operas and we don't know what the title should be.
So soap operas, TV boundaries, divorce recovery. Yes.
Stick with us, folks. I've been back to work a week.
So we're talking about boundaries. At first, during your divorce recovery, it's hard to set boundaries because you don't want to upset the flow or you don't know what the frick you're doing. But as you get more and more ground, you figure out that boundaries are good, man. But you don't want to hear everything that's going on in other people's lives. Your ex, your kids, your friends. You need to pick and choose the conversations and or stories that you want to hear.
You can't handle all of other people's stuff.
You can't handle the truth. Really?
I was trying to speak and it came out.
Did you call the code red? You can't handle the truth.
No. What is happening? No, I think too, like I'm very visual. So I'm looking at a Furby over here with his eyes closed. I'm watching you roll your eyes. My brain, when you said you can't handle other things, I picture like the Tasmanian devil when you're first getting divorced. You're like, that's what everything sounds like, right? When
Damn.
people are talking at you.
Tasmanian devil.
And then all the things around you are just like swirling.
And then Bugs Bunny comes in with the violin. And it calms
It's
him
like,
down.
Yeah. And so I think in the beginning, like, even the boundary you set, I don't really think they're like very
They're not
stable.
hard boundaries.
Yeah,
they're
they're
like
not-
soft boundaries.
It's like the bounce house. There's a wall there, but it's
but it's
been-
really soft.
Yeah.
The bouncy house of boundaries.
I feel like that's where you start, right? You're like, I'm in the bounce house. Like, what the hell's gonna hit me? Like, I'm in here by myself. Oh no, all this other stuff. I just got knocked out. Okay, what's happening? I hit a wall, but I'm bouncing right
soft.
back into the crap. So I think too, when you're first setting boundaries, I don't think there's any rhyme or reason to them.
Yeah, you just have to indiscriminately just set a boundary because later when you make those boundaries, man, it's like a cinder block, baby.
Well, and I think too, I got to the point where I'm trying to think all the incidents when you're first in your divorce, what's happening? Someone didn't know. Why didn't you tell them? This is that. Oh, I didn't know. Blah, blah, blah. Like, you don't need to know all my stuff. But then once it all gets out, you have to decide who you're going to tell your truths to or what.
Or your untruths.
Yeah. And also, what part of your story what version of your story do you give just to give the simplest one? And then if it's your friend, you're like, this happened, or did you hear, or, the random text to your friend, oh my God, can you believe this? And all the things. And I think when you're first going through it, you can't make heads or tails of a lot of things.
Yep.
So I got to the point where I'm like, no. And it was no affect, no nothing, no explanation. Like, I was not showing up for the Polar Express party. I've only been out of the house for 2 weeks. And then I wasn't a good friend because I wasn't supporting other people, but yet people weren't really supporting me. So then I was like, you don't really care about me. So it's okay if I don't shut up for the wine mixer. So
aren't boundaries, there's outgoing and incoming boundaries?
Yeah.
What about that? How about your boundaries, what you tell people? That affects the boundaries that come into you.
No.
So let's say that you're a little loose in the tooth or loose in the mouth. Wow, that was
Okay,
interesting.
dentist.
Yeah, you're a little loose in the mouth. So you're talking about your divorce and you're saying everything that's happening in your divorce. People don't need to hear everything,
And you were
but you're
drinking.
just telling everything about your divorce. And then when someone asks you about it, you say, "Don't ask me that." But you've already set that boundary that they can ask
Oh,
you.
that
But then
it's
you
an
get all,
open.
"Don't ask me that."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want you to hear all of my
Yeah,
side,
but don't ask me a
don't ask
damn
me any
question.
questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just accept my shit wholeheartedly without question.
Well, and that's one of those like information dumps too. I think a lot of times when we go through anything tragic, we've been holding in so many things. And if you get into a group of people where you feel safe, whether or not it's a safe environment, because I've been in a lot of those where I thought I was safe, but I really wasn't. It
How'd
was
you
like
find
the
out?
snake pit, right? Just
Later.
a small town. Like
Okay.
it was just a small group of, not even a small town, just everybody knew everybody
It was
because
a
of
cliquish.
what my job was or who the people I knew or who I hung out with or my neighbors and all the things. So I think too, a lot of people think they know you because of you work here. They know they must know you. And I think a lot of times because of all the things that are coming at us, if my neighbor knew one of my friends or someone else, they give them their version. And so it's all muddied.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're ready to tell your story and all the stuff comes out, people are going to pick apart what they heard already anyways. I don't think we should, I don't ever want to judge anybody how they get through their divorce or how they get through the hardest parts of the divorce. You can.
Yeah.
But I think too, like we need to be more aware of that. That's actually part of it.
Yep.
Everybody's
like, not your friend.
Really?
Everybody's not your friend.
Oh no. And I think that took me a long time
to figure that out.
Even after I had let some people go, I was like, were they really my friend when they said this? Are they really my friend when I did this? Were they really my friend when I invited?
But you get better at it because you hone your skills over time. At first, when it's raw, you're like, don't know who's my friend, who's on my team. And then over time, you hone your skills, but you also fall on the wayside. You make a bad decision, but you can't beat yourself up with that shit because you're dealing with a lot of stuff.
I think too, because a lot of my life, I've had to weed out friends a lot because I guess maybe my friend picker's not great, but when I find those people that are in my life, they know every part of me. They know my blood type. They know it all.
But not right away, though.
No. And I think since my divorce, I've gotten better at not being like, again, I'm a very social person. I try to be funny out. You never know when someone's having a bad day. I try to smile. I try to do things. Again, I'm not perfect, but I really do try to make any situation more lighthearted. And a lot of times to your face, people are smiling at you, but in the back, they're like sharpening.
Smiling in your face.
Yeah.
Backstabbers.
Yeah. And so they're sharpening the knife in the back. Yep. And so it took me I always thought people were good, but I also learned that people pretend to be good.
Yep. Remember I told you that when I was going through it, people were basically idiots until proven otherwise.
Yeah.
That's how I got through it because I came from a negative place because I was in a negative place. So coming from a negative place was so easy, but it took a while to lose that base camp.
I feel like a lot of people go through too. If the persona of your marriage is, oh, they're such a happy couple. And then
that's a kiss of death, man.
Yeah. Then you're like, we weren't.
We're not happy. Damn it. No, don't say that about us.
It really goes back to you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. Yep. You don't know the situations that those people are being presented with. Like we went through sickness and health. We went through loss of a child. We went through my parents' both of our fathers passed. My mom passed. I lost an aunt who was like a mother. Just like so many things that we've been through that should have broken us up that we may not have dealt with the correct way. Like until my divorce, I didn't know I had all those childhood stuff. I thought I was a happy child.
Kind of raised to the top.
I was a happy kid, but I had a lot of shit that I was dealing with as a kid that you don't realize that you're going through until you have to face it. And you're like, why am I crying about that? That doesn't even have anything to do with my divorce. Or why is this happening? Or why is that happening? And I think what happens is because there was no boundaries set. Here's the adult, here's the child, here's the husband, here's the wife. And all these other people were in my life, like in different I guess they were different characters, right? So each of these characters in my life never really had like, today I'm the parent and there's this one. And so boundaries are really hard for me because I'm like, oh, it can be the bounce house wall today, but then I get hurt again and then the thing pops and I'm suffocating. So there's just a lot of times where I think I'm setting boundaries or I think I'm good at it. And then I fall back into that safety net, almost like the contentment. Oh, everything's good. I haven't had any drama in this many weeks or whatever. And then it all just comes back at once. And I'm like, I need a co-host to go, you know what? Stop it.
Slap you. Pimp slap you. So what advice would you give to people going through all three stages, the beginning, the middle, and the end? What stage or what advice can you give to the person at the beginning of divorce, the middle of divorce, and end of divorce? Because that's different boundaries, what to expect.
I don't know. I think these are different for men and women, don't you?
You can be general.
I think they're so as a woman, a lot of times we are expected to do things because we're the woman, the mom, the whatever. And I think what has to happen is once you're going through divorce, you now become the mom and dad, right? For a while. Or
if he moves out.
Exactly.
Or somebody moves out.
And so both sides, you are also the other parent and you have to fill the shoes of the other parent. A lot of times my boundaries were, I wouldn't do that because this is how it's always done, because that was one of my roles. But you're coming in and changing and it's disrupting everything. So maybe try it this way. Or no, we don't do that. That's not how that happens. And again, it was never really mean. It was just, you haven't been here to raise the children because you've been out working, whatever, thankfully. But you didn't see a lot of the behind the scenes. And so now that you want to be fun dad, I'm dealing with the repercussions of it. Or like we've talked about discipline, like you're disciplined at moms, you should be disciplined at dads. But if you're fun dad, then all the work that you had done at home is now.
It goes backwards.
Yeah. So I think in the beginning, I think we discussed this last week too. You have to come to the point where you have to remember you love that other person at some point to have these children.
At some point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or even if you don't have children, you have to get to a space where you can divide your stuff. Let's not chop the dog in half. Are you selling the house? Are we selling the house and I'm buying one? Am I staying? Do I keep one car? Do we only have one car? Do you have to buy me a car? And all the things you need to set boundaries of, I'm sorry, that's not going to work for me today, but also I might have to be a little bit flexible so I get the big picture. Or if this is the most important thing to me, I would like to work for that. So I might have to give away a little bit of other stuff.
Give and take.
Yeah. And so I think that's hard in the beginning because you're so angry. Most divorces, you're angry. There are some amicable ones. As
I know. Learned. That's amazing. We need to interview somebody on one of those one day and just see that unicorn.
Yeah. And so I think what happens is as you progress to that, again, I think that majority of the time, you don't talk to each other in nice words in the beginning. You don't use good words. And so I think at some point you just get either tired and you're just like, all right, white flag, I got nothing left. And the last thing I'm going to get is my health, all the things. Then through the middle, I think in the middle is where boundaries really start to become like more
solid,
made with wood. Like you get to the concrete at the end where I've put a couple nails in there. There's one screw in there. This is not coming down, but it could still come down. There's only one screw. So I think it's when we were talking about the title, it says, how do you set a boundary? And I think a lot of times too, you're like, no. Start
with the word no and then go from there.
And no is a full sentence. A lot of people don't know that no is a complete sentence. It's no. It's not supposed to. There's no emotion to it. It could be a yelled no. It could be a I'm done no. But I think we need to start with just because you're asking something of me doesn't mean that I have to reply yes. And you can't guilt me into yes.
And if you ask me a question, then you have to be ready for the yes and the no.
Yeah, if you're willing to ask the good questions.
Even the bad questions.
Yeah, like a detailed question. If you go, okay, so Christmas, what's happening for Christmas? If we can't talk about Christmas, okay, we're not getting in anywhere, right? If we can't talk about Flag Day, where your kid going to be for Flag Day?
The title of the podcast, Divorce, Recovery, Boundaries, and Flag Day.
Flag Day boundaries.
Oh, damn.
So I think what happens too is each time you're dealt with something that tests your boundaries,
Yep.
you either make them more sturdy, or that one falls down and you have to create a new one. And sometimes they have to be harsh, and sometimes the other person's not ready to hear it, and they keep testing it, and then your walls get bigger and you get more cynical, and you get this, and then there's a point where you're just done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times too, I want to say the more you communicate too, sometimes that's harder because they think that they can tell you anything
It's
or say anything to you.
Over communicating, correct?
Yeah, and so those boundaries, like, oh, he's being so nice and he's doing this and he said that, or wow, that's crazy that he would ask me that, or whatever. And so it almost falls back into that security of a marriage, but you're not married anymore.
Mm-mm.
So I think what happens too is what you said too.
Or you say politely, say, hey, that's not a topic we need to discuss anymore. But thanks for bringing it up.
How does this relate to our child?
Yep.
Or how does it relate to our relationship as exes? And then why is this information being given to me?
Yep.
And so I think what happens is you have to weed through it quicker, because I think you do weed through it quicker. I just had my 4-year anniversary of my divorce on the 23rd.
Damn.
And I felt like it wasn't a big deal.
So every year gets less and less a big deal.
Yeah. So like last year I was like, oh, 3. I definitely knew it was 3 years I've been divorced.
Oh yeah, it's
now I'm
4
like,
years.
It was 10 o'clock and I'm like, oh wait, the 23rd. Oh, okay. That happened.
Wow.
So 10 o'clock at night was good. So maybe next time it'll be 11 o'clock. But I think too, with the boundaries I've set and with the things that don't bother me anymore, I'm thankful for the no boundary, the fuck no boundary, the hell no boundary, the what the fuck boundary, or what did you say to me? I think those are all very important, and you have to go through them in order to get to the peaceful boundaries. Like, I have a wall up to protect me from me. Like, I am not protecting myself from anybody else, because if I take in your shit, I'm the only one dealing with it.
And it's your fault. Taking in the shit.
And it is my fault for allowing the shit bucket to be filled.
Yeah. Do not accept the shit bucket.
Yeah.
Do not let them turn the bucket over your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
dodge it.
I think a lot of times with the podcast, we're going through some of the things that we talk about, or we have a story, or we have a situation, or the proverbial friend of mine has have an issue. And even at this stage, at 4 years, and we don't know how many long David's been divorced, it doesn't even matter anymore.
Forever.
He's married to the most amazing woman ever.
There you go.
So I think we come through these ebbs and flows of boundaries, and they get a little wavy sometimes, and we need each other to say, hey, you know what? Remember that episode where we said...
This is our first boundary episode, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
How come it took 184 episodes to talk about boundaries?
I think we've talked about them in other ways.
But not as dedicated show.
Like you say to me, you're like, thanks for asking, but that's not going to work for me today. That's a boundary, but not in a full podcast.
Yeah.
But again, I think you have to set boundaries with a lot of people. And maybe I'm wrong, but I set up like the freaking reinforced barbed wire, blah, blah, blah. I start there. And this is since my divorce, I start with all the walls up. I live in this little tiny castle going, okay, it's got made of all the steel and all the rebarb and all the things. And maybe I'll take down the little fence for you to visit or look. You can look. It's easier to look in, or, oh, nope, sorry, you've ruined that. And I'm really quick to categorize people now. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, that one goes here. We only talk to that one when we need to. And oh, that one goes here, but it has potential. Yep. So my walls.
And that's a learned skill.
Trick. It is a trick. Because it's a parlor trick, because sometimes those people are in your parlor and they're not really your friends.
Yep.
And so I think we need to be better at letting people go. I have become better at allowing people to be my friend, because I was very cynical of friends. I still am. I'm like,
I think we ought to do a podcast, how to test your friends.
There must be one.
Yeah. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do a test your friend podcast.
We should send out like a questionnaire to our friends and viewers. How well do you know David and Rachel? That could be part of our 200 episode celebration.
There you go.
Which we just talked about right now when I said it. Oh, by the way, we need to plan a party.
Yes. Keep talking because I got to find something. Keep talking.
So again, part of the reason whenever we come up with topics is because of something that's relatable in our lives or someone
Boom.
or a friend of ours. Hey, by the way, I'm going to divorce. It happened over the summer. I haven't seen you all summer. So what happened? Da, 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 da. Oh, by the way, I have a podcast. You should listen to it. What's the one thing that you're having a hard time with? Oh, those. So again, new in it, middle in it. You've been through divorce, you're remarried. A lot of times we need to set boundaries, and each new person that you meet is going to be delved a type of boundary. If you're one of those people that are just coming at me all the time and whining at me and crapping on my desk, I'm gonna be like, I've heard all your problems. What are solutions? Give me some of your solutions because this isn't gonna work for me. I can't help you if you don't want to help yourself.
So let me read you this. This is a original message from Timothy on the East Coast.
Hey, Timothy.
It says, I found your podcast about a month or two ago and have listened to every episode. I filed for divorce in November and it was finalized July 1st. I just wanted you to know that I find your podcast helpful and insightful and helped me process some of the complex emotions. Thanks, Tim. That's awesome.
Hey, Tim.
Tim, thanks for reaching out to us, man.
That's what we're here for.
That was freaking awesome.
We don't try to pretend we're experts or anything because every day I struggle going.
But we've been through some shit.
Again.
Yep.
And I think I can only speak for myself. All the shit I've been through really helped me get through my divorce. But there was so much shit I hadn't dealt with because I didn't know it existed until my divorce. And I'm not saying run out there to get a divorce so you can figure out your shit. I'm saying everything you go through is really a learning thing for the next time it happens or for like multiple times. My ex was sick in our marriage. Multiple times we've had broken bones with kids and one's going to Philly and one's going to North Jersey, one's doing here. Like we've had so many things where we had to juggle where a lot of times we couldn't juggle our own feelings and we just pushed them down. Everything's great and sunny and happy because we're such a great couple. And it just exploded. It just became
and just got
and
got
he
over
has
it.
Equal amounts of childhood shit, like so much. Like most people couldn't have handled all the shit that he had to see and go through when he was a kid. And again, is that why he's made up the way he is? Probably. And also as a man, you don't get help because then you're weak and this and that. And me going, hey, maybe you need to talk to someone.
That's a different podcast.
And so I think a lot of just humanness, we deal with a lot of things silently. I think we're getting better as society. Like men get help. It's okay. Better help or whatever. All those commercials we'll see. There's a reason for these things. And they are successful because people need to talk to people. I'm a big believer in just let me get it out in the open. It's less on my soul. And then when I hear it, as I'm speaking it, a lot of times it's not as bad as I've perceived it in my head. So this podcast is that you just tell me like, stop it.
Yep,
I'm like,
stop.
all right, I'm just going to stop it because David said
Stop.
But I've been through a lot of healing things, especially the podcast and helping people and just talking to other people in a similar situation. It doesn't have to be divorce. It could be, I had a flat tire this morning and it really annoyed me and I'm fucking pissed off and I kicked the tire and now I broke my toe. Okay, cool story. But you got it off your soul and you realized it was a flat tire.
Don't kick the flat tire with your toe.
Your anger caused you to kick the tire because you were mad at a car that got a thing that you can't control.
Mad at the freaking tire.
Yeah.
Right.
And we've all been there where we're pissed off at a stupid situation just because it's inconvenient and it could have helped you not be in an accident. That could have helped you. I don't know. Wherever you're at in the moment of your life, just be thankful that you're there and you get to wake up every morning and yes, you might be going through divorce and yes, it sucks, but it will get better.
And on a positive note, you get a chance to rate us a 5-star review on your favorite.
Let's
favorite
get this
mod.
podcast making me some money. Come on, people.
Give us a 5-star.
If you have a business or you want to promote us, you want to pay me to get my hair done.
Give us a 5-star.
You like my jewelry,
and tell your friends and all that good stuff. But yeah, try to heal, but give us a 5-star.
I do want to give a shout out to my son.
All right.
Because I don't normally do this. I don't plug a lot of things unless you're a guest. But my son is going to be. My son does glass blowing and his girlfriend does jewelry making and permanent jewelry.
Maybe we can put their stuff at the bottom of the show notes.
We will. And then they are going to be, if you're in Colorado, they are going to be at the Creative Festival in Idaho Springs. And it's a bunch of vendors, art, glass blowing, food, all kinds of things.
I'm
tomorrow
hungry.
from 12 to ? And Sunday from 12 to ?
All right.
So come see us. Maybe you get to meet me. And I'm not a celebrity in real world, but in my head I am.
But she is. But she plays one on TV.
So yeah, Little Bird Jewelry and J Glassworks. Shout out to my sweeties.
All right, everybody. Have a nice night. And Tim, have a good day, buddy.
Thanks, Tim.
Take care.
Love you. Bye.
Bye-bye.